Carrie, you on? It's Michael. Christine, are you on?
Yes, Counselor, I'm here.
Right. Is Carrie staffing? Who's staffing this one?
I believe so.
Okay. Right, it's 3 o'clock start. We're at 3:03. Just
So far, you're the only counselor on, as I can see.
okay.
It looks like Commissioner Shea is here, Francis Thomas, and I think Melissa is here from Age Strong as well.
Got it. Commissioner Shea, can you hear me?
I'm trying to transfer Commissioner Shea over to the panelists, and I'm not. Oh, I think she's on now. There's a bit of a delay at times, so I believe she's on now.
Hi, I'm on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Commissioner. Thanks.
Oh, good. I keep getting booted out, and I'm not sure why. So hopefully I'll stay in.
It seems like we might be having some technical difficulties, but wait to hear from Carrie to make sure that we're good.
Sorry for the delay, Mr. Chair. I got the video set up, all running, and I'm able to bring people over. So I'm ready to go when you are, Mr. Chair.
Very good, Carrie.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Hey, Commish.
Good afternoon, Matt. Just working through a quick technical difficulty on my end. I'll be right.
Hello.
Hi, Emily.
All right, Carrie, we're going to get started here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is City Councilor at Large Michael Flaherty, Chair of the COVID-19 Recovery Committee, and today is October 14, 2021, and we are here today to host a hearing on various grants under the American Rescue Plan Act that was passed through the Mass Executive Office of Elder Affairs to be administered by Aged Strong Commission in Boston. Docket 0994, message and order authorizing the city to accept and expend an amount of $1,603,112 in the form of a grant from the American Rescue Plan Act, Title 3B, awarded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, passed through the Mass Executive Office of Elder Affairs to be administered by the Aged Strong Commission. The grant will fund supportive services for older adults in Boston from a period of 4/1/21 through June 30th, 2022. Target 0995, message and order authorizing the city of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $1,406,331 in the form of a grant for the American Rescue Plan Act Title 3C Nutrition Program, awarded by the United States Department of Health and Human Services, passed through the Mass Executive Office of Elder Affairs to be administered by Age Strong Commission. The grant will fund nutrition services for older adults in Boston from a period of April 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. Docket 0996, message and author authorizing the city of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $423,120. Let me repeat that again. That's going to be $423,170 in the form of a grant to the American Rescue Plan Act awarded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, passed through the Mass Executive Office of Elder Affairs, administered by the Age Strong Committee. The grant will fund administration costs for planning and implementation by Age Strong Commission from April 1st, 2021 to September 14th, 2021. Docket 0997, message and order authorizing the city of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $394,133 in the form of a grant for the American Rescue Plan Act Title III-E awarded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, passed through the Mass Executive Office of Elder Affairs to be administered by the Age Strong Commission. The grant will fund family caregiver services for older adults in Boston from a period of 4/1/21 through June 30th, 2022. Docket 0999, message and order authorizing the city of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $157,522 in the form of a grant to the American Rescue Plan Act Title III-D awarded by the United States Department of Health and Human Services, passed through the Mass Executive Office of Elder Affairs to be administered by the Age Strong Commission. The grant will be a fund the long-term care ombudsman program for a period of April 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Docket 1001, message and order authorizing the city of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $140,121 in the form of a grant from the American Rescue Plan Act Title III-D awarded by the U.S. Department of Human Services, passed through the Mass Executive Office of Elder Affairs to be administered by the Age Strong Commission. The grant will fund preventative health services for older adults in Boston for a period of 4/1/21 through June 30th, 2022. These orders were sponsored by Acting Mayor Kim Janey, were referred to the Boston COVID-19 Recovery Committee on September 22nd, 2021. We are holding this hearing in accordance with the Chapter 20 of Acts of 2021, modifying certain requirements of the open meeting law and relieving public bodies of certain requirements, including the requirement that the public body conduct this meeting in a public space that is open and physically accessible to the public. The City Council will be conducting this hearing virtually. This enables the City Council to carry out its responsibilities while adhering to the public health accommodations and ensuring public access to its deliberations through adequate alternate means. The public may watch this meeting live on Xfinity 8, RCN 82, Verizon 964, and via live stream at boston.gov/city-council-TV. It will also be rebroadcast at a later date. Written comments may be sent to the committee or staff email and will be made part of the record and available to all councilors. Members of the public wishing to testify virtually via video conference should email the staff to contact and link and instructions to do so. If you're looking to provide testimony, you may email the committee. Committee email is ccc.covid19@boston.gov, or staff email Christine with a C .O'Donnell, ODONNELL @boston.gov. Joining us today on behalf of the administration will be Commissioner Emily Shea of the Age Strong. She'll be providing opening remarks. We're also joined by the Director of A&F, Francis Thomas, and also we have the Deputy Commissioner of Programs and Partnership, Melissa Carlson from Age Strong as well. So there you have it. Sorry to be a little bit long-winded, but we got to get that in for everybody. So Commissioner Shea, you have the floor if you want to sort of just give opening remarks, and then after you, if Francis Thomas would like to add as well, and also Melissa, so we'll do right in a row.
Wonderful. Well, I think I'll speak, and then Francis and Melissa, if there's things that I'm missing, feel free to jump in. But I want to thank you, Chairman Flaherty, and to all the counselors that are on here. It's always, we always enjoy coming before you and being able to tell you about the great things that our team and our partners are doing in the city. We were really excited to hear about these ARPA funds, and Counselor, thank you for reading through all of the dockets. So this is Older Americans Act money. So these are the funds that typically come to us through the Older Americans Act, and you heard all of the different titles that the counselor mentioned. Typically we get these funds every year that come to us. And this year we are getting extra funds because we are also getting an allotment of funds through ARPA. So that's what this is. And you heard the counselor mention all of the different areas that the funding comes in. So it's supportive services for older adults, it's nutrition programs, it is caregiver funds, it's some administrative funds for us, it's health promotion and prevention funds, and the long-term care ombudsman. The way that we work with these funds is we keep some of these funds in-house to help support the team that we have here that is doing a lot of work with older adults. So constituent services work, events and programs, volunteer programs, all sorts of things that we do down here. But the majority of these funds we pass out to the community in what we call the Aging Services Network. So we have a network of 25 grantees, or actually, I'm sorry, 24 grantees who work with us through Older Americans Act funds. We put them out in an RFP process, and these community partners work with us on the grants are a cost reimbursement basis, and they help to provide really important services to our older residents throughout the community. Our partners are kind of our lifeblood, right? Because they help us reach communities that we're not reaching, and they I guess just help to extend the network and make sure that older adults can enter the network through any point in time. I'm not going to go through all of the partners because this is ARPA funds. I'm not going to go through all of the partners that we typically have with our Older Americans Act dollars. Those partners that we typically have, the 24 organizations, will have an opportunity to share with us what they want to use these funds for. And we also will be putting funds out through an RFP process. We are planning to start our RFP process with these funds next spring. So probably going out to bid sometime in May for an October 1 start date. And these funds, we have until 2024, so September of 2024, to be able to use the full scope of these funds that you just heard about. We also will probably be putting out an RFP this year for a couple of different areas that we're still narrowing down through conversations with the community. What I will say about these funds, and then I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has. Some of this money, like the nutrition dollars that you heard about, the long-term care ombudsman dollars, the caregiver dollars, that money is all passed through for us, and it will be going out to the organizations that already run those programs in Boston. We are working with them around plans that they have. I'm excited about the plans that they have for this money because I think it's really going to help those organizations, Boston Senior Home Care and MSPCC, who work on the caregiver funds, and Ethos and Chinese Golden Age Center, who work on the nutrition dollars. It's really going to help them to be able to work with us to reach communities and people that they haven't been reaching before. There's never enough outreach money, and this is going to give us funds to really do that important outreach and make sure that everybody is aware of the services that they can be accessing through the Older Americans Act. The Title III-B dollars, again, those are our most flexible pot of money. Those we'll be putting out through an RFP. We've identified some areas that I just want to highlight as important areas that we are thinking about, that we think need further investment and that we're talking to communities about. Certainly mental health and wellness needs of older adults, elder economic security, as I mentioned, outreach, and especially outreach in multiple languages, social isolation, digital equity, housing search, mediation, and stabilization. So those are some of the things that we're looking at funding with our more flexible dollars that we have. Melissa or Francis, do you have anything to add to that?
No, you did a very nice job covering it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay.
Nothing to add.
Okay, so we're happy to take any, I know the funds are a little bit complicated, and we're happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Very good, Commish. So we're going to, let me just, I know we've been joined by my colleagues in order of arrival, Julie Mejia, Council President Matt O'Malley, Councilor Ed Flynn, and Councilor Liz Braden has joined. So in the interest of time, to obviously a waive openings and maybe just get into some quick questions quickly. So obviously, how much COVID-19 relief funds has Age Strong received to date?
So you mean for these ARPA funds, Chairman?
Yes, or any others that you have received. And I only say because in one of the instances when I was sort of reading through the notes, unless it was a typo on my end, docket 0996 says the grant will fund administration costs for planning and implementation by Age Strong Commission from April 1st, 2021 to September 14th, 2021.
Yep. So these funds, we are, so they're cost reimbursement funds. So we don't have any of the funds in-house. We could bill back to April 1st, 2021 for the funds.
Right. Just want to make sure that no funds were expended without coming to the Boston City Council. And when I look at those dates, it says April 1st, 2021 to September 14th, 2021. So
yeah, no. And Francis, do we even have our contract for these funds yet? I mean, so Elder Affairs is always a little bit slower in getting us things, but these funds, we could back bill for these funds, Counselor, but we have not spent any of these funds yet. And the only way we would have funds kind of in our hands is if we billed for them.
And then can you just briefly tell us, where will the funding be spent and how will you be able to measure the impact of that spending? I think one of the things we need to be cognizant of, clearly we need to identify communities hardest hit, make sure that we're doing this in a very fair and equitable and responsible manner. But I think we really need to also recognize we want to be able to sort of measure the impacts of that, particularly areas where we're trying to close those gaps. So where will the funding be used and how will you measure the impact?
Sure. So a couple of things with that. So some of these funds will be pass-through funds, as I said, going out to the organizations that currently run these programs for us. There's very specific guidelines around the Older Americans Act programs. So like nutrition, the ombudsman program, the caregiver programs, the way that those programs run and the pieces that those programs have are outlined in the Older Americans Act, the federal government, and by Elder Affairs, and we kind of follow those structures. And so the organizations that run those programs for us will be following those structures. In addition, they'll have an opportunity with these funds to do some extra things that they don't typically get to do, like I was saying, the outreach. The way that we operate with these funds is when we award dollars, everybody has to provide us with a very detailed scope of service and a very detailed budget. We have to approve the scope of service and the budget. We then get monthly program reports from our grantees where they let us know exactly what they've done with the funding on a monthly basis. With the finance reports, we go through those with a fine tooth comb. As I said, it's cost reimbursement. And obviously these are, we don't want to be playing around with these dollars. So we account for every penny of it. If they spend money on something, we need to see the receipt. If they are paying for staff with it, because some of this does pay for staff, then we you probably don't want all this detail, but we ask for something called a TAP, right, Francis? Timesheets, activity sheets, and payroll, so that we can make sure they all tie out and make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to be doing with the money. And then we also compare the invoices that we're getting for personnel with their programmatic reports, so that we can make sure that the staff that we're paying for are actually doing the work when we're getting the programmatic reports in from the grantees. So Melissa and Francis, feel free to jump in.
The only other piece that I would add is when they're going through the proposal process, we're also double checking resumes and job descriptions to making sure that they're hiring quality individuals that can do the job as well.
Nothing to add.
Very good. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, City Council Julia Mejia. Julia, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm excited to be here and really do appreciate all the hard work that Age Strong does on behalf of our most vulnerable populations, which is our elders. And during COVID, our office worked closely alongside you all and other organizations and businesses to help address a lot of the food insecurity issues. So really excited to see that work continue and to be funded. I just have a few questions. On docket 0995, we'll cover nutritional services for elders throughout the city. How are we working to make sure that food services with our elders are culturally competent in foods that they actually will eat? We created a whole program designed specifically to address that. And a lot of our elders would get Meals on Wheels just Monday through Friday. So we covered the weekend. And I'm just curious if you could just talk a little bit about that gap on the weekend and also the cultural competency around it. And then the other question is, how are we partnering with local small businesses to help provide those nutritional services? I think that the city, we talk a lot about contracting, and we talk about how we can close that the racial wealth gap. And I think that if there's ways for us to partner with small restaurants to help provide some of these nutritional services, we can get there. And then docket 0997 will provide funding for family caregivers. And I'm just curious, how are we partnering with local nonprofits who work in the home health care when it comes to best practices? And then for docket 1001, what kinds of health services will we be providing specifically to the LGBTQ plus seniors under the care of Age Strong? And lastly, how are we incorporating mental health services and trauma-informed practices into the continuum of care provided to the seniors through this grant money?
Wow. Okay. So I will take those one at a time. And if I miss something, please feel free to kind of help me stay focused here. So the nutrition funding counselor, I think you raise a really good point. So the program that we're funding is a multi-part program. So it's not just the meals. So the providers that we have, Ethos and Chinese Golden Age Center, they do kind of a whole scope of services for those nutrition funds. So it's Meals on Wheels, it's the meals and the delivery, it's the nutrition assessments, nutrition counseling, and nutrition education. And did I miss something, Melissa? Okay. And so the meals, I think, is the piece that that you mentioned, and it's actually a piece that Melissa and I just had a conversation with Ethos about as well. So Ethos goes out to bid for meal providers, and we just had a conversation with them what we would like to do, because the standards for these nutrition meals can be hard for some kitchens and some restaurants to meet. There's a lot of requirements that are not our requirements at the City of Boston. They are the requirements from the federal government and the state for this kind of Meals on Wheels program. And so Ethos is going to be going out to bid, I think, in the spring for new meal providers. And what we talked to them about is bringing together like a webinar ahead of time before they go out to bid, where we can get local restaurants who are interested in learning more about the program, learning more about like what are the kitchen requirements for these programs, what are the food requirements for these programs, because you have to have like a certain, you can only use like a certain amount of salt, and like there's all these requirements around what goes into the food, and also around the kitchen that the food needs to be cooked in. And so we want to get people together so that they can ask questions before Ethos goes out to bid for those meals. So I think that's a good first step for that. And we'd also be happy to hear kind of any thoughts you have around there, or any restaurant owners that you think would want to kind of join that meeting when we put it together. Do you want me to move? Shall I move forward?
Yes, because I only have 7 minutes. So.
Okay. So best practices around home health. So I think that was related to the caregiver program. So the caregiver program is, the family caregiver program is again, a very specific Older Americans Act program that actually does not include home health. So it's about, it's kind of helping family caregivers navigate its assessments, its counseling for family caregiver providers, its support groups for family caregiver providers, both people caring for folks over 60 and also grandparents over 60 raising grandchildren. So it has a lot of different pieces, but it's not actually connected to home health. There are other programs that are connected to home health that our ASAP partners are running, and we'd be happy to talk to you about kind of home health separate from this hearing. But that's not actually a piece of what this family caregiver program pays for. The health services, I think that's Title 3D that you're talking about, the 0991. So we are given by the federal government a specific list of evidence-based healthy aging programs that we're allowed to pay for with these funds. So some of them are exercise programs, some of them are programs that tackle mental health and wellness, but it's a very specific list of evidence-based healthy aging programs. Some of the ones that we pay for are things like chronic disease self-management, the Matter of Balance program, which focuses on balance and falls. There's an evidence-based Tai Chi. There's a program called Healthy Ideas, which is which is a mental health intervention. So those are the programs that we're able to fund with these dollars. And then the last one, you're talking about mental health and wellness. We are very interested in spending additional Title 3B dollars, our most flexible pot of money, on mental health and wellness for older adults. And we're currently in the process of having conversations with people that can help to guide an RFP for us moving forward. And so if there are folks that you think we should be talking to, please let us know who that is. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Thanks.
Commissioner, you got through all of that. I think the only one that I just would like to hear a little bit more about is the LGBTQ seniors under the strong.
Right. So I think, I think that all of there's not a specific, you were talking about health services related to that. There's not a specific LGBTQ kind of evidence-based program, but there are times that we do specific outreach to the LGBTQ population for different things. So for example, we recently ran an art program and we specifically targeted the LGBTQ population for our outreach for that program. And I think for the healthy aging funds, we can, I'll say, the provider that currently has the most funding through our for the healthy aging funds for the health promotion and prevention programs is Ethos. Ethos has kind of a mission of working with the LGBTQ population. And is well known as being a provider that people feel comfortable going to. So they are running these evidence-based programs throughout the community, and they're recruiting people to be in them. And I haven't seen their recruitment goals, but I can imagine that they're certainly targeting the LGBTQ population, but I can make sure that that's the case.
Thank you so much, Emily. I don't have any further questions, Councilor Flaherty. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Commissioner, I can add that some of the money that we give to Boston Senior Home Care goes to the LGBT project.
Thank you very much, Francis. Chair recognizes City Council President Matt O'Malley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any questions. I'm well familiar with many of these grants. We seem to be getting them. We've received them a number of times back when I chaired the formerly known Committee on Healthy Women, Families, and Communities, which of course Councilor Braid now chairs. And it's important, though, to note that they are coming in through this new avenue, through this new pipeline, through your leadership, Mr. Chairman. So in lieu of a question, I just wanted to take this opportunity again. I'll have fewer and fewer of these opportunities in a couple of months, but just to really publicly thank Commissioner Shea, Francis, Melissa, your entire team. You guys have done such remarkable work during such difficult times. When the pandemic first hit, Commissioner, I remember being on the phone with you. You were at City Hall. Your team was out there helping our seniors. I think all of us naively thought in March of 2020 that maybe this would be a month or a 6-week ordeal. We never thought it would be, I guess we're coming up now on 19 or close to 20 months. But nevertheless, you never skipped a beat. And I'm just so grateful for your leadership and your team. And I'm just incredibly lucky to live in this great city and proud of the great work you and your team have done. So that's all I want to say, Mr. Chairman. Well done, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'd like to recognize our colleague, City Councilor Ed Flynn. Ed, you have the floor.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty. I think Councilor O'Malley said it best. We're just so proud of the Age Strong team. I also want to thank them for doing tremendous work, especially during this difficult period over the last 2 years. So thank you, Emily, to Melissa, to Francis. And we just want to let the entire Age Strong team know that the residents of Boston appreciate their work they do every day in the city. It doesn't go unnoticed. You play a critical role, and residents of Boston benefit because of your compassionate leadership. So, Councilor Flaherty, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to echo what our colleague, Councilor O'Malley, had to say. Thank you, Councilor Flaherty.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn. Chair recognizes Councilor Liz Braden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Emily, for such a thorough explanation of all the funding. I really appreciate all the great work, and it was lovely to see you out in the Veronica Smith Senior Centre yesterday. So I want to zone in on the elder economic. I know this is sort of your outreach activity, your elder economic security issues. One thing that I'm increasingly concerned about is predatory lending and reverse mortgages and unsolicited offers for homes and land that our elders are receiving. You know, sometimes it seems like a lot of money, and it seems like a deal they can't miss. And very often they find themselves in really severe situations, often under possibly losing their homes, or they end up selling a piece of land or something for well under market value. And it's very it's an abusive, predatory situation. I don't know if you folks are thinking about these issues. I'm sure you are, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to talk to you about it. So that was one question. And then the other issue was with regard to, you know, this situation with regard to hiring healthcare and home care workers. I realize we're sort of in this sort of labor shortage situation. So many of our these workers have been essential frontline workers, and they're frankly exhausted at this point of the pandemic. So I don't know if there's any strategies to help with hiring and retaining those workers for our elders. Those are my two questions. And also I want to echo the thanks of my colleagues. Thanks and appreciation for the great work through the COVID crisis that we've all weathered the storm. And I know personally, Elder Services and the Age Strong has done an incredible job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Council President O'Malley and Councillor Flynn and Councillor Bearden and everybody. Just we appreciate all of those things, and we will pass them along to our team. I think you've raised two really important issues, Councillor, and I think we can think about, when we think about housing and we think about our Title IIIB funds, we should also think about what kind of outreach we can do around those three things: predatory lending, reverse mortgages, and unsolicited land offers. Older adults are getting kind of barraged by a lot of that. And I'm also wondering, as you were talking, I'm wondering if we could be kind of putting something about it in Seniority Magazine as well, just to raise up the issues and what people should do if they feel like something may be a scam. We just started something called a scam corner, highlighting a scam every time we do Seniority Magazine. So that might be something we could focus on with that. But we should also think about it, Melissa, as we think about how we put out these funds. With the health and home care workers, there is a huge labor shortage. I actually just heard today that they're having a lot of trouble filling cases in Brighton, which is maybe why you're talking about it. It is a problem, and the wages for these workers are just far too low. I do think there's always some temporary wage add-ons, and I know that there's going to be some temporary wage add-ons happening from the state level. I think there's going to be, I just saw some new rates. I'm not sure if they've been formally issued yet, but I just saw some new rates that are going to help to provide better wages for some of those workers. But I think it's a continued advocacy issue. It's not really something that sits here at the city, right? It's an advocacy issue on both the state and the federal level. But these are it's a really important workforce. It's primarily women. It's primarily people of color. It's primarily people who are lower income. And they're doing very important work that is not valued the way it needs to be. And so I think maybe there'll be an opportunity in the future where we can take a more formalized advocacy stand on that. I know there's a couple of bills in Congress, and there's a lot of work being done to try to figure out, how we help to support better wages for people. But that's part of what's needed.
Thank you. And I think I look forward to continuing this conversation and digging in into the weeds on this, maybe in the near future. Thank you so much. Mr. Chair, that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Councillor. If the Commissioner and or the administration team have any additional thoughts, not seeing any additional colleagues here. Whether it's Christine or Kerry, are there any members of the public that wish to be heard on this matter?
Hi, Councillor, it's Christine. No one from the public requested to give testimony.
Very good. And there's no additional testimony that needs to be read into the record from any of my colleagues, correct?
That's correct.
Very good. Well, that will conclude today's hearing with respect, I'm going to read all the dockets with respect to docket 0994, docket 0995, docket 0996, docket 0997, docket 0999, and docket 1001. And I believe that's it. So with respect to the Committee on COVID Relief, this hearing is adjourned, and Commissioner will try to get a committee report turned around quickly and get a council vote so we can make sure that these funds get dispersed as quickly as possible to help as many people as we can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
See you, Commissioner.
Thank you, councilors. Thank you all. Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.